We need to make boss fights awesome. We need to make boss fights memorable. We want the build-up to be fantastic and the payoff to deliver. So how do we make boss fights awesome? Because I am here to tell you there is a lot of times, whether it be in the pre-written modules or just people's assumptions, you cannot run boss monsters by themselves just in a blank little room. It just doesn't work. So let's go over some ways we can make the boss fight truly awesome. First off, send in the minions. There is almost no monster that can work by itself at all whatsoever. There is so many mechanics that absolutely shut down individual people, and there is the action economy, and there's so many factors to it. Quite frankly, there is almost no monsters that can fight by themselves. You gotta send in the minions, you gotta send in the little bruisers, you gotta send in these little annoying people on the side, which do a lot. The great thing about having these minions in the boss fight is they will drain your player's resources, they'll make the people that can't do anything to the boss immediately still contribute to the fight because they can take out all the minions. Having minions is a great way to threaten all those backliners who think that they're always safe and secure in the back, having some minions come from behind. Adding minions to the fight is a great way to ensure that the boss can do what it needs to do, but just for a little bit longer. To make the environment unique. Like I said before, if you just have a 25 by 25 grid and it's just a blank flat board, then it's gonna be not that special. But you know what is special? A magma river that stretches in the middle of this room with large gargoyles that spit acid along the sides and little spike traps that are mixed all between. Fighting underwater with a large whirlpool that's swimming overhead and it moves about in random locations every single turn and the DM rolls for it. Having teleportation circles all around that put you in various portions of the room. Having a unique environment is going to tell the tale of this boss fight, because once your players regale the tale long in the future, you want them to talk about how awesome that boss was, but also how crazy and weird the environment was. 3, add fun actions. Of course, the bosses, they may have their normal actions, they may have their normal spells, and they may have some legendary actions, but more is always appreciated. Giving the boss ways to move about the room a little bit more. Having the players roll more dice as they are trying to overcome some sort of weird effect that's coming out from the boss. Maybe the boss spawns a whole bunch of duplicates and your players have to figure out which one is the real one. Adding a whole bunch of different fun actions are going to once again lead to a more memorable fight, but it's going to keep the boss in the fight longer because everyone always laughs about the boss that gets dunked in a single round. You need to have actions and you need to have multiple of them and you need to make them truly shine and reflect on the boss at hand. I think one of my most favorite boss actions is the reaction of if the boss is targeted, they grab a minion and then the minion gets hit by whatever effect and then the boss simply shakes it off. Adding fun little things like that is going to add it to a great time. 4, you need to make the build-up great. Of course, in days of old, you just storm through the dungeon, and then in the final room, the boss will be simply waiting there and just attack, and that's the end of the story. But having a boss fight with the build-up is a great way to go. Maybe you can foreshadow the environment at hand. Maybe you can foreshadow the abilities that the boss has. Maybe the boss is antagonizing the party the whole way through. If there is absolutely no build up to the boss fight, then yeah, it can be pretty cool, but having a decent enough build up is going to get your players going that much more. That being said though, don't over build up the encounter. Don't make this the grandest, craziest, largest, scopest thing ever, and then the boss fight occurs, because the bigger the hype train is, the more than likely that it won't deliver on every expectation. And lastly here, what resources does the party have? If the party shows up with absolutely full resources, they just got done with the rest and they haven't done anything at all whatsoever, then you need to know that they're going to use anything and everything. They're going to try and blow the boss out of the water with their strongest stuff. But if they're showing up to the battle with not as many resources, then that is a portion of the boss fight, that they don't have all the resources at hand. If they do show up to the boss fight with all of the resources, then you need to buff accordingly, because with the crazy shenanigans that go on, especially at higher levels, there's just so much going on, and the game wasn't necessarily balanced around the party having full resources during that boss fight. But if they are drained a little bit, that's going to tell an epic tale about how they are down a bit on their luck, but they can still try and overcome this awesome fight. final boss. In my opinion, you need at least one of these things to make a boss fight awesome. At least one. Try and squeeze in as many as you can. More often than not, it's not always possible to try and get in all 5, but getting in at least one of these things is going to lead to a great time. We want boss fights to be memorable because we have all these random encounters and all these tailored encounters all throughout all these adventures, but boss fights are special. Boss fights are unique. We want to go up against bosses that their names are to be remembered, about how the boss fights are unique, about the environment they're in, and the lead up thereto. We want these things to be memorable for years down the line, and boss fights should always be more memorable than just some random fight in the middle of nowhere. So go ahead and tell me, what do you do to spice up your boss battles? Do you run things purely by the book, or do you go above and beyond and go outside of the box? And how much of a build-up do you usually have for your boss fights? I am genuinely curious to know. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And thank you to my amazing patrons. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.